Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to show you how to make liquid or intelligent drum and bass, and this is what we're going to be creating today. I'm going to show you every step of the process from scratch from a completely blank DAW template. We're going to be creating the drums, the bass, the chords, all the ear candy, and some vocals too. And we're going to be touching on some mixing and some arrangement. As usual, you can download this project file, all the samples completely free, just use the link below this video. Now you guys voted for this the other week, it came in second place, but I've already made a lot of melodic house tutorials, and I wanted to do an intelligent drum and bass tutorial because this is one of my first loves from when I started in music production back in the 90s. I used to love LTJ Bukem, MC Conrad, and I used to listen to all the pirate radio stations too. Anyway, enough about me. Without further ado, let's hop into the DAW and get it done. So as usual, let's start off with the vibe. So intelligent drum and bass, or liquid drum and bass, which is the more modern version, is to drum and bass what melodic house is to house. So it's quite emotional, there are some beautiful chords in there, but the difference is it's at a drum and bass tempo and has a drum and bass vibe. So first thing we're going to do is select that tempo. I'm going to hit 175, and what are we going to call this? Intelligent drum and bass, liquid drum and bass. We are going to call this liquidity in That's just wrong. No, let's just call this liquidity in bass. Boom. Okay. Right, next thing we are going to do is actually we're going to bring in a classic jungle breakbeat, and that is the Amen Brother breaks. You will have all heard it if you've heard any kind of drum and bass or jungle music, and it's one of the most popular, most widely sampled breakbeats in history. So it is from, I can't remember the name of the guys that wrote the original track. I think it was maybe the Wilson brothers, but don't hold me to that. So what we can do is load up Loop Cloud, and this is great for finding loops, by the way. And I'm just going to put Amen break and see if we can find something. I've probably already downloaded one, so let's have a listen. That's the break that we need. So it was sampled from this old soul record, sped up, and this is the basis of pretty much most jungle and drum and bass tracks. So I'm going to take it down in volume to make sure we don't have any clipping on the master channel. We don't want the cumulative signal to be more than about -6 dB. And now let's program in the actual drums that this breakbeat is going to augment. So I'm going to choose a kick drum. I'm just going to go to my favorites. Super important to have favorites. I just realized that Amen Brother break is, I like saying Amen Brother. So yes, let me know. Actually, don't let me know if you're enjoying it yet, because I haven't done enough for that. So let's just turn off the break, turn on the metronome, and let's just get in a drum and bass kick pattern. So we need that to be a bit longer so we can hear the whole kick. Great, and now we're just going to repeat that. And I think we want this to be a bit longer than our usual loop, so we can have a bit of variation at the end, because this tempo is a lot faster than the tracks I usually write. And then the second time through, we can add a little bit of interest at the end. Just a little bit of an extra kick there. And now let's program in the snare. Now this is easy. This is just on the second and the fourth of every bar, because this is still 4/4 time, even though the kick isn't going boom, 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 boom. There are still 4 beats in every bar. So let's go and find ourselves a tasty little snare. That already sounds quite good for drum and bass, actually. So let's just program that in as well. I'll just consolidate these. Oh, I've got loads of good tricks to show you, actually. Stuff I haven't shown you before, so that's going to be good. Yeah, so let's just copy that to every other beat, turn it down, and we can now turn off the metronome. Okay, so that's the basis of our drum and bass beat. Just going to save this, and next thing we're going to do is put in the closed hats. And this is really simple with drum and bass as well. Let's find a closed hat. I like that because it's got a bit of a metallic sound to it. So it's going to really cut through the mix. And it's really simple. We can just program it in like this, which I think is on the 8ths actually. So I could actually make it like that. Yeah, that's just a pattern on the 8ths. So that keeps it nice and simple. Just duplicate that across our whole length of drums. Okay, next thing we need to do is add the little bit of snare skippage, as I like to call it. Oh, that sounds good. That's a kind of drum and bassy snare as well, so I'll take that down. And we're just going to add a little snare skip on the 16ths every now and again, which is exactly what we do with house as well, and techno. It's just a lot faster. So the 16th just before that beat, and then one after. There we go, and that gives us that really nice skipping drum and bass groove. This is going to get really cool in a sec. In fact, I'm going to add a little bit of dynamics to that by just taking down the volume of this closed hat. So this one is slightly quieter than this one. A very small tip, but one that's just going to add more interest to the track, a little bit more movement. Cool. Okay, now the magic is about to happen with this Amen break. So I'm just going to call this Amen and colour that green, the natural colour of drums in the wild. And now instead of using the entire break, which goes like this, which is too much, we need to somehow synchronize this with our existing drums. So we know that the snare is happening on every other beat, so we need the kicks to be kind of synced up. So we need a kick to be happening here on our Amen break. And the great thing about modern DAWs is that you can really easily quickly chop these up when they're synchronized and when they're warped. So I'm just going to grab that and I'm just going to paste it there because I know that first beat is a kick and this is a beat, so I'm going to paste it alongside that one, and then this one, and then this one, and this one, this one, and this one. So I'm just pasting it. I don't know what this is going to sound like yet, but it should be pretty synced up. But then our snares are out of sync, so I'm going to chop it up. And so our snares are happening. So our snare would have to be brought back so it's in sync. Let's just duplicate that. So now we've got this. And for the last one, I'm actually going to break out of the synchronizing bit. And we're going to go to the end of this Amen break where the cymbal crash happens. This bit. So I'm going to just do something interesting at the end here. I'm going to paste it so that cymbal crash happens on this snare skip. God, I'm having trouble saying that today, aren't I? So now we've got this pretty crazy rhythm. Now it sounds out of time there at the end, but with the rest of the beats it should make sense. So you get this really interesting rough cut rhythm there. So I'm going to take some of the low end out of this break. Yes, mate. So that's pretty much our beat. Oh no, there's one more thing I want to add to the beats. I'm going to add a shuffle as well. just to add that little extra sizzle. I might look at Splice. Again, Splice is a great tool for searching for samples, and you can get, I'm not sure if you can get a free trial if you use my link below, but you might be able to, I can't remember. So now I'm just gonna go for, let's see, we just want, oh, drum and bass shuffle. I only really want the shuffle though. That sounds good to me. So it's a bit more than just the shuffle, but I really like the vibe. So I'm gonna see how that sounds. Let's just bring it over. Oh, and it's called London Liquid. So London was really the place where drum and bass really was at its inception. You know, obviously a lot of influence from older styles over from Jamaica and the West Indies, but ultimately drum and bass was born in London, and that was the hotbed for it. So that sounds pretty cool. So let's bring it up. Cool. So there we've got our beat. I think I might put this one in instead. Cool, let's save that. Now I think this is actually, this shuffle is slightly forward, so I'm going to open up the delay and I'm just going to push it forward a little bit, maybe 10 milliseconds, maybe 5. I think it was just slightly out of sync before. Boom, and there we have our beat. Now on to the really lush chords that are so prevalent in liquid drum and bass. Cool, so as I said at the beginning, I want to do this just using the stock plugins in Ableton. So I'm gonna open up this and I'm gonna call it Pad, actually. And for this, I'm gonna use the wavetable synth and build it from scratch. Cyan, the natural color of synths in the wild. Now we need to find that synth. Here we go, wavetable, where are you? And we need to pick a key for this track. Now, you know me, I love to work in A minor because it's super simple, so that's what we're going to do today. So I'm just going to turn this down a little bit and then build out our chords. Now, the easiest way to do this is to just select whichever scale you want to work in, like this, and then you can just press scale and it's only going to show notes from within that scale, which makes it super simple. So let's put A as the root note. And we just want to build out a 7th chord at first. So I just need to skip a note each time. There's a 1, which is the root. That's the 3rd, 4, 5, 6, 7, and now we've got a 7th. So that's the 7th chord, but we want to make it more interesting than that. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to build it out, and we're going to add a 9th and an 11th. And now we are going to change the waveform to more of a saw wave. Make it full sustained, so it's just a sustained pad. Let's bring it down an octave. Now the key here, the absolute trick when it comes to drum and bass, is to use a bandpass filter, so you can do filter sweeps. Now check out the difference it makes. I'm just going to add some reverb, by the way, on the auxiliary channel, which you can see I've created there. Just some reverb, bit of EQ and a volume boost. Now let's feed that reverb in. Yes, bad boy. So we've instantly got like lush vibes. Now the next thing we need to do is create this sweep that I just spoke of. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to select bandpass filter, like so. We're going to choose an OSR, so we can add some drive and just make it a bit grittier and a bit fatter. And I'll probably have to turn it down a bit to account for that. And now we've got this bandpass, let's bump up the resonance. And now check this out. Yes! I could just jam to that all day. So adding the resonance just gives it that extra kind of niceness. But we're probably going to add a compressor to that, because if you look at the levels here when we do this sweep, just watch them here on the mixer, you'll watch that as it hits that sweet spot, it gets much louder. And at the top, there's not much volume, there's not much going on. But watch this volume here increase. And then it dies off again. So we want to equalize that sound, or yeah, just normalize it. So I'm going to add a compressor. I'll get to the loudest part, compress it. And then it's compressing it less, you can see here with the gain reduction, as we get higher up. So now it's a much more even volume in our sound. I'm just going to save that. And now what I want to do is actually add a little bit of sidechain compression. But instead of the normal sidechain compression, which is on every beat, I want to have the sidechain compression follow the kick drum, the pattern of the kick drum. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take my sidechain compression trigger. Let's just draw a new one in actually. And I'm just going to have it follow the kick pattern, just like that. So every time a kick plays, this sidechain trigger is going to trigger any sidechain compressors I select to duck in time with the kick. So let's just copy and paste that and duplicate it. And we can even add this extra one at the end that we added in. Whoops. Like so. And now we can add a sidechain compressor as well. Now I've got two compressors here because I want the first one to normalize the sound and the second one to just duck from the sidechain input, like so. So you can hear now it's ducking. That's without any sidechain compression. Add some unison. Nice, so that's just lush. So now let's move on to the bass line. For this, I'm going to create again a sound from scratch. I'm going to use the wavetable again, and I am going to create a respace, a sustained bass basically. So first let's just write in the bass notes. We're going to start with the A, which is the root of the track. And it's easier to draw in the bass notes a couple of octaves up because it can be harder to hear the exact pitch if it's down really low. Cool, so those are our bass notes. I'm just going to make legato. So this is our bass notes. And we'll go down again. And if you want to know what I'm doing with the bass line here in terms of moving it forward an eighth, then you can watch the video that's just popping up here. It's going to tell you all about the 12 best ways to get your bass line sounding amazing. Cool, so now let's build that bass. We'll go to the kick and the bass and the drums and just do it like this. We're going to drop it a couple of octaves now we've drawn in the right notes. Full sustain. Whoops, but we need to set it as monophonic so none of those bass notes bleed into each other. Okay, I'm actually just going to keep this as the separate sub bass, and I will duplicate it, and then we are going to add some stereo width to the mid bass. And let me know if you're enjoying this so far, guys. Give me a hell yeah or an amen break, brother. If you're enjoying this and like it and all of that good stuff, really appreciate it. Awesome, let's continue. So let's call this a main bass. And we are going to make this into the Reese bass. Here we go. So first I'm going to take out the low end. I know that sounds a bit counterintuitive with bass, but under about 130 hertz or so, we've got our sub bass handling it. So for this bass, we want to spread it nice and wide, and we're gonna, yeah, still monophonic. Add some unison. Already sounding dope. And now let's take that filter down. Sounds good in mono. So now our bass line is this with both together. But I actually want to add a little bit more interest to this one. So I'm going to get a second envelope on the mid bass, and I'm going to have it trigger off this frequency filter. So we've got that kind of opening up effect, which I think sounds cool. Okay, so let's group those together and call it bass. So we can process both of those together. And I'm going to add another one of these sidechain compressors, ducking against the kick drum. So this is the bass line with no sidechain compressor applied. And let's add some now. I can hear a bit of a tick, so I might see if I can take that off. No, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you did want to take it off, you could do it by using LFO tool or Shaper Box instead of using the sidechain compressor, but I wanted to keep it to the Ableton plugins only. So now let's listen to this bass with the kick. So the sidechain compressor ducks the kick, ducks the bass a bit, so the kick can really punch through the mix. Now let's bring in the drums. That's sounding good. And now let's bring in that pad. We'll just fade it in from on high. On high! I haven't made any drum and bass for ages. Okay, now we need some kind of nice little melody. Let's make a nice Pluck melody that just repeats. And we can do this again by using the scale feature if we want. You can do it by ear, of course, but if you're struggling, you don't know that much music theory yet, well, one, you should take my music theory for EDM producers course, which is popping up now, or you could use the scale function, and let's just use A minor, and that's going to keep things simple. So I'm going to get to the wavetable. Let's put it on there. And first I'm going to just draw in the notes before I choose a sound, because it's in my head. So I just want that to repeat, at first at least. That will be the first melody. fact, I'm going to keep it without having that harmony, and we might be able to add a harmony later on. So now I'm going to select a sound. I'm just going to go through some of the presets. I want a plucky sound. So let's listen to a couple of these in situ and see how they sound. Instant yes. That might be the one actually. Now I'm going to go with my gut, first one. Now we are going to get to a chord progression change in the break very soon, but first I'm going to add some vocals. Again, I'm going to open up Loop Cloud, which you can check out below this video, get a free trial on it, it's really, really good. And then I'm just going to look up for some soulful vocals. So I know this is in A minor, the track, I know because I wrote it. So what I'm going to do now is go instruments, female, vocal. Here we go. Now A minor, and let's see.
Get down.
Instantly, yes. So I know that's going to sound good on this track. It's just got the vibe, you know, and female soul vocals are so good on drum and bass tracks, and specifically liquid drum and bass and intelligent drum and bass. It just adds a really nice upper frequency range to the composition. So let's get this at the right tempo. So I can see here it says 111 BPM. So I'm going to warp it at 111, and then it should be in sync with the track. Might sound a bit fast though. And I'm choosing Complex Pro. It's the best warp algorithm for vocals. It's the one that sounds most natural. Okay, let's just copy that over, and with the bass, of course. Like so. And then we can get to a break after that. So now I'm going to process these vocals after colouring them purple, because that's a nice colour. And now let's put a little bit of compression on there. And you can check out my vocal processing video, it's popping up right now as well. That's got how I produce professional sounding vocals, although I can't actually speak like a professional at the moment. And that's just to even out the levels a bit of the vocals. Get down, get down, get down. Okay, like we might just use one vocal chop from this, you know, we don't need to use the whole thing, but I'm going to create some vocal effects. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit of reverb first. I think I'm going to use a hybrid reverb, that's pretty cool. Get some really nice interesting sounds in there. And let's just find a big space and feed some of those vocals in. But I want this delay as well, so I'm going to create a second one. I'm going to call it Vox Del. And then we are going to choose Echo. Oh man, I love this. I love drum and bass. It's so long since I've made any, because it doesn't seem that popular anymore, but I know there is a market for it, and hopefully you're watching today. So. Okay, yes, I'm loving it. But what we need to do is add a chord change, and we're going to make a break as well. We also want some lush piano in there as well, just to add that little secret sauce. I'm also going to add that sidechain compressor on the vocals, just to sit it in the mix a bit better. Oh, absolute tune. This is what we call the tunification of life. It's a technical term actually, the tunification of life. I think it was coined by Alan Turing after he developed the Enigma. The tunification of of life was actually his second most prominent achievement. Not many people know that. That's fact. So let's get a piano in there. Grand piano, boom. And I wish I had my MIDI keyboard here. That would be amazing for just jamming. So what I'm going to have to do is not do that. I'm going to have to just pretend in my brain and just put in some, try and humanize it after I programmed it in. Well, that sound. Oh. Yes. Okay. All right, this is what we're going with. So the second time we run this melody through, we are changing it to go down because we need it to resolve. So the first time it goes up and the second time it goes down. And now let's lush this up. I think I might just try and use the same reverb as the pad that we did. So it sounds like it's coming from the same place. Bit of a Robert Miles vibe there. Take out the low end, don't need it. Get out low end. We could actually put this up an octave as well. And then what I'm going to do is just slightly slide these top notes over. So we've got 2 octaves playing now, and there's a slight delay to give it a human feel. Bit too much mid-range. Okay, let's have a listen to it. That is an absolute tune, and that's fact. Okay, what we're going to do is now make a lush break. So she can carry on doing her thing. Yes, bass. And now we'll come in with the final chord change, isn't it? For the last time. Okay, I'm gonna have to experiment with this. Dun dun. Okay, so for this last chord change, it's still all within the key of A minor, but we're just adding a little bit of a change here. So the chords go down at the last bit. But we want to change our pad to change there as well. So if we go in, we'll delete all of these, and we'll look at our bass chords, our bass notes. We go down to D, then E and F. So let's just follow that. D. E and then to F. And now let's build out our 7th chords here to keep it sounding lush. Maybe that should say the same, actually. That's a tune in and of itself. So at the end, it goes. Great. Bring in the amen, brother. And let's bring the original one for this bit, actually. It's all about the filter sweeps. I should be automating this, but I'm not. I just want to give you an example. Okay, I'm just indulgent. This is pure indulgence now. I hope you've enjoyed this, guys and girls. You can download this project file, all the samples completely free. I'm gonna do a little bit more work on here, tweak it a bit, get it sounding absolutely fat as. Okay. And yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed it. This was a real indulgence for me. And if you did, please hit like, share it with your friends on Reddit, Facebook, wherever, and consider subscribing to my channel for tutorials like this each and every week. And if you want coaching with me, check out my Accelerator program below. We help our students get signed to some of the world's biggest dance music labels, tour the world playing their music, and even make it their living. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time, cheers and happy producing.